Hello. Today we're going to look at a game that I played on the ICC. The ECO code will be A40. The themes we'll be looking at will be good development, changing plans through the course of the game, and playing against a piece to put it out of play. And I think this will be explained as the game goes on. I opened with my normal move of 1c4, the English opening. It's my favorite opening, is white. My opponent played b6. And depending on how black continues his development, this could be labeled like a Queen's Indian defense, an English defense, and also could be called an Owens defense, with the idea of developing his bishop to b7. My next move is knight to c3, bishop to b7, and now d4. And what I'm doing here is I'm switching from an English opening to a queen's pawn type opening. And my idea is I'm going to try to limit the play of the bishop at b7. Black plays e6. I played bishop to f4, developing my bishop, and he plays bishop to b4. I'm sorry, my mouse is a little touchy today for some reason. It's a new mouse, and anyway, he played bishop to b4, pinning my knight to my king. I continued with f3. And the idea of this move is to limit the scope of the bishop at b7. What I want to do is I want to use this f-pawn to support my advance of my e-pawn to e4, and having a nice, strong, broad pawn center. Black plays knight to f6. I play e4. Then he played knight to h5, attacking my bishop. I retreat my bishop to e3, and now he plays bishop takes c3. This exchange is actually good for white since it strengthens white's center. I responded by playing b takes c3. Black castles. I play bishop to d3, and now black plays d5, attacking my center. And I'm going to use my double c pawn to recapture with c takes d5. He plays e takes d5, and I'm sorry, my mouse jumped ahead too much there. Like I said, I played c takes d5, and he plays e takes d5, and now I played e5. Excuse me. This is keeping to my plan of limiting the play of the b7 bishop. As you can see, his pawn at d7 blocks his bishop. Now, one way black could get rid of this bishop at b7 would be to play it to a6 and attacking the bishop at d3, and that would be really helpful if he made this move after a castle, where I would have my rook at f1, forcing the exchange of the light squared bishops and eliminating his bad bishop. But that wasn't played, but it's just a theme that you can keep in mind for a future game. Anyway, I played e5, and this move at e5 also allows white to control these two center squares at f6 and d6. So after the move e5, black played g6. I played knight e2. Knight to d7, castle, and now c5. And this would be a good idea for, this is a good idea for black. He has a 3-pawn to 2-pawn advantage on the queen side. After exchanges, he could possibly create a passed pawn on the queen side. So, and this is another way of him to attacking my center. I played bishop to h6. He responds with knight to g7. I played f4. And then he played rook to e8. And my next move is not the best move, but it ended up not hurting me. I played g4. And the idea of this is I thought during the course of the game that I needed this extra support with this g-pawn to make this advance of the f-pawn a little stronger. But in reality, if I would have just played f5 straight out, and if the game might have continued, let's say c4, bishop to c2, knight takes f5, bishop takes f5, g takes f5, knight to g3, rook to e6, attacking my bishop, and now knight takes f5, protecting the bishop, and rook to g6. And actually, in this position, white is better. And as you can see, I really didn't need to push up that g-pawn. And in fact, if I had this rook to g6, it might have been a move with check, and he could have then maybe brought his queen into play, let's say, for, well, anyway. Anyway, the move g4 was not necessary. So let's go back to the game at rook to e8, and like I said, I played g4, which really was not necessary. Black plays f5. I played g takes f5, knight takes f5, bishop takes f5, g takes f5, and now rook to f3. During the course of the game, I couldn't make up my mind if I should play rook to f3 first or play knight to g3. And knight to g3 is most probably just as good as the game move of rook to f3. The game could have continued after g5. I could have played knight to g3, queen to h4, knight takes f5, and then queen to h3. Excuse me. And white would have still stood much better than black. You can determine this because of two things. White has more or less 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces in play. Black at the most has 1, 2, 3. His rook at a8 and the bishop at b7 are pretty well out of play. Yes, he could eventually develop them, but as it stands right now, white has the better game. Also, he has, or I have, 2 pawns here in the center that are connected and passed. So that would also give me a big plus as the game would continue, maybe after exchanging some pieces. But in the game I played, after g takes f5, I played rook to f3. Now black played knight to f8. I played rook to g3 with check, knight to g6, queen to f1, king to h8, queen to g2, and sorry, the mouse jumped again a little bit. Black responded with rook to g8. And now I made a big mistake, and I played rook to g5. And the reason this is a mistake is here I've been talking all game long about how I've kept this b7 bishop out of play, and what I ended up doing is I took my bishop at h6 out of play. A much stronger move would have been bishop to g5. Game could have continued queen c7, bishop f6 check, rook to g7, h4, and bishop to a6. And of course, white would have continued with pushing his h-pawn up the board here, and with having 3 pieces to 2 on this rook here, white would have ended up winning. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Anyway, the game played, like I said, rook to g8. I played rook to g5. And now black made a blunder which made my rook move not look so bad. He played knight to f4, which is a terrible mistake. He could have played and should have played something like queen to c8, king to h1, c takes d4, c takes d4, and queen to c2. But white still would have had the better game. But this would have been a much better continuation than the game move of knight takes f4. I played knight takes f4, rook takes g5, bishop takes g5. I took with the bishop instead of the queen because I wanted to get that bishop back into play better. He played queen to f8, played bishop to f6, and he's seeing that the game really is over. He went ahead and played queen to g7, and I mated him with queen takes g7. Even though there were some mistakes made in the game, the whole idea was I wanted to show was how I played my pawns to keep black's white squared bishop out of play. It was never a factor in the game, and because of his problems of having good development, he ended up having 2 pieces that never were ever in the game. And in the very end, I've got 3 pieces here on the king side attacking the king, and it's the predominance of the pieces here force, however you want to say it, is one of the reasons I ended up winning the game. So just I thought there were some good themes here. I enjoyed the game. I got lucky. I made a mistake. He made a bigger mistake and ended up winning. Well, anyway, I want to thank you for your time.